And as soon as I sat down in the room, cameras pointed at me, getting grilled by our overseas neighbors. I instantly, Seer kicked back in, and I was able to navigate us out of the situation that could have been bad without the training.
That's a badass story. That's a use case story right there. That's you actually executing the skills that they teach you, and not just the, how to survive without eating skills, but the how to talk to people in foreign country skills. There's not a lot of people that probably went through that experience. That's dope. I'm glad you shared that. I appreciate it. Hey, going back to selection, any funny stories from selection, or any, I would say, memorable events that happened during your time there with the people at McCall?
I wish, man. I wish I had funny stories of selection. I was basically just head down, trying to get through it at that point. Trying to get through with as little pain as possible. So I could tell you some stories about Seer and overseas, but selection to me was just a grit and bear it.
Yeah, well, give us a Seer story or an overseas story, man. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So Seer was a good one. I mean, I went in January, so I was a winter Seer class, which was, the way I figured it was, if I'm going to go, I want to go in the worst conditions possible. That way it'll stick through blunt force trauma. So went through Seer with some buddies, and it was the most miserable and amazing time I've had in my career. And as you're going through it, though, you think to yourself, oh, I'm never going to use this. I'm never going to be a prisoner of war overseas. That being said, my first deployment, I was, I think, 3 weeks in country, and there was somewhere that my boss wanted me to go look at, and we didn't exactly have permissions to do so. But me being who I was, I wanted to try to make it happen, and I ended up being briefly detained by intelligence services overseas. And as soon as I sat down in the room, cameras pointed at me, getting grilled by our overseas neighbors. Instantly, Seer kicked back in, and I was able to navigate us out of the situation that could have been bad without the training. But there's probably a couple of stories from Seer that I probably shouldn't tell, actually, but I would say the applicability was definitely not lost on me.
Yeah, that's a badass story. That's a use case story right there. That's you actually executing the skills that they teach you, and not just the, how to survive without eating skills, but the how to talk to people in foreign country skills. There's not a lot of people that probably went through that experience. That's dope. I'm glad you shared that. I appreciate it.
No, of course, brother. I was scared as hell when I got out of there. We got back in the cars. I was with a few members of our MSOT. So we were with a Marine Special Operations team on that deployment, and I walked out of there. Thankfully, we left all our guns behind in the trucks to go where I wanted to go. But afterwards, I was like, shit, dude, I'm going to get lit up at the embassy. I know my boss is going to tear me up. The ambassador is going to tear me up. This is going to go sideways. So the first thing I did is I got on the phone and I called up my commander, and I said, hey, sir, just in case you hear this on the embassy blotter, I was detained and I was questioned, and there was cameras in my face, and just want you to know what happened. And honestly, his answer to me was, hey, Phil, if you weren't getting rolled up every once in a while, I'd say you weren't doing your job. So to me, that's all I needed to hear. For civil affairs, the job is exactly what you make it. You take the risks you want to take. You take the mission where you want it to go. And I enjoy taking risks. I enjoy being in situations that are maybe a little hairy, because it allows you to really see who you are and have to think and react and stay calm and do what you need to do. So to me, that's very typical of my career in civil affairs.